It's letting me down today. I want to look at the objectives. Maybe I will just try to explain the objectives if we work on it. So the objective of the program that I've initiated, actually I've first tried to identify some partners. I consulted with the Ministry of Education because I'm a teacher by profession anyway. And I also contacted the Ministry of Environment, who are very, very supportive, and then also other stakeholders. So the objectives of this initiative is to identify schools that are doing very well when it comes to school garden. Because I came to realize we have a lot of schools in Namibia. They are doing very well, but unfortunately nobody is seeing them. There's no platform for those schools to be seen. So I established this initiative in order to identify those schools and award them. So therefore, this initiative is actually an award program. And once schools are being identified, actually with the initiative, we have what we call the search for eco schools, or the search for sustainable schools, whereby we advertise and schools have to register that I want to participate. Okay, so we started with Hangwena region. I am from Hangwena region, and I started with Hangwena region as how do you call it? Like piloting. So, and okay, and this is what I found. This is also what I helped to create. Actually, we first started having workshops, telling schools about the initiative and telling them what we would want to see in their schools and what we are going to award them on. So then we had a space of 1 year, and the schools have implemented. Those who had already initiatives, we told them, okay, you can go ahead, just make it beautiful. And then, so after our initiative was established, this is what I found. Different schools, as you can see, those are different schools in the Hangwena region in different circuits. I think the names and so you can read on the screen. We have a gardening. We even have gardening. If you look at Tonginga English private there, where they are even using the little space that they are having so that they can produce vegetables. Also the issue of greening in the orchards. This is also what we established in Hangwena, and also some of it we already find schools doing it. So the idea is just to show you what we have found, and I'm sure in many regions, I have seen schools like I was watching here yesterday, Simbabasia, they are doing very well. But yet, like I said, there is no, thank you. But then somebody must recognize them. I'm happy that our deputy minister is here. So these schools must be recognized. They must have they don't need a lot of money. A simple trophy and just a certificate will mean a lot. And this is what they are doing in the Philippines. So for their initiative, they're not spending a lot of money. Of course, they are still a developing country like us. So therefore, they are using it that they have. Also, these are again still some of the initiatives. As you can see, water saving, water harvesting, and also conservation. Maybe in the interest of time, our achievement since we have established this eco-school in Hangwena region. So we first established every circuit, we developed a page, a WhatsApp page. After we had a workshop with them, we developed a WhatsApp page, and then this WhatsApp page, that's where we communicate with all the schools, because that's where they send their everything. As you can see, you also have the search. It explains, actually, I want to pick a piece. That was for 2019, and the idea was to find out the best school in 2019. The whole idea of this initiative is that every year we have a new champion in the region, at primary level, at the secondary level, and we also thought primary schools, we also wanted them to have also their own category because of the challenges in terms of public schools. We realize it's not very fair sometimes to compare them, but the one that came in 2019, we just put them in the same category. So in our through our selections from second levels, we have a criteria instrument that we look at when we assess schools. So because schools have to make presentations, they have to show us what they do, and they have to verify that yes, what they are showing us is not photoshopped. Yes. So and that's why most of the pictures you will see on those banners, we try to make sure that either there is a learner of the school from that school or the buildings, something that identify that picture of that school. So to make sure that it's a genuine one. So we also, maybe it's not behind the banner, we had our first award, which was supported by the region. Maybe I should mention this. My regional director, Mr. Amate, is very, very, very supportive. So with this program, he made sure that he gave us all the opportunities to reach the schools. And we don't really need a lot of money. We are using like resource teachers as coordinators in circuits. We are not employing, we don't need to employ new people. So we are using available resources already. Yes. At the regional level, we are using the education officers. So they are coordinating there. And then when it comes to selections, when we go for selections, we get partners from the Ministry of Environment in our region. So we get partners from the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Education. So those we come together to assess those schools. So I must also mention I've seen Mr. Chapa here. He's also department from the Ministry of Environment. I think I've seen him around. He's also very, very supportive. Okay, we also contributed to the National EE and ESD Policy Strategy Action Plan. So the Eco-School Initiative was also invited and we were part of it. So we made sure that we know exactly what's going on. And we are very ready and happy to make sure that we take part in the implementation to help schools to implement it. Okay, thank you very much. Lastly, I just wanted to show, I came with this student. This student comes from the school that was a regional champion for 2019. Unfortunately, in 2020 and in 2021, because of COVID, he couldn't do much. So he has maybe just to show quickly how his school is doing, just for you to see. And I also come with Mefina. She's a principal at one of the primary schools, again in my circuit, they were actually the second run-up behind them. So we are just going to show maybe just roughly quickly what they are doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a peaceful morning to you all.
Morning.
Morning. My name is Philmon Wapopi, and I am technically the vice head boy for our beautiful school, Ongenga English Private Primary School. So I didn't come with my other students because I believe I'm a one-man army. Welcome to Ongenga English Private Primary School Eco School Program. The Eco team is basically made up of teachers and learners. As you can see in the picture, the school looks very beautiful and stunning. I mean, doesn't it look phenomenal?
Hey.
Our eco identity. We have a billboard in front of our school So visitors, when they pass by, they can see that our school loves the environment and they get some information from this. Our billboard consists of our vision and our mission. Our mission is a pragmatic learning experience, channeling facilities and activities to teach to learners lessons engaged with the natural world in a more dynamic, experimental, and interactive manner. Our policy. Our school will be anchored on keeping the school clean, reducing, recycling, and reusing, water harvesting, switching off lights. Each class has a drinking water bucket, a bin, 2 flowers to take care of, and use of a bottle for drinking. Our stakeholders are the school administration, teachers, learners, parents, and most importantly, the community. Our school garden, we produce potatoes, tomatoes, and many other fruits. As you can see, there are flowers there. Those flowers not only decorate, but they keep away pests. So they're doing 2 jobs. They're doing 2 jobs at once. Our school looks very beautiful, and you can see we recycle, and you can see the picture. We use recycled bottles to make ridges for water not to flow away, and the learners have pride in taking care of our school. I mean, look at the smiles on their faces. The bottles are there, and we use the bottles to make ridges, and the learners take care of the seedlings with no adult or anybody telling them what to do. It's a must, you know. It's like they know that they have to do this. They know that they have to take care of our environment. And the caring continues. We use those sacks to plant potatoes, and we use sacks as a medium of growing plants. We're also trying hydroponics. You know, we're experimenting. The learners take care of the plants and water the sacks, and the water doesn't flow away because it's in a sack, and the sack has it already has the ridges, so the water doesn't flow away. Water harvesting. Not a lot of people practice this, but we harvest our water. We have a lot of tanks. We have 4 tanks, and we also have the other on the other side. As you can see, we collect water from the roof into the tanks. We use that water to irrigate crops, for washing hands, and for many other purposes. We wash hands with the water that we have collected. This is the Eco project at its peak. Stunning, I know. And I know the people who haven't been there might be dying to visit this place. This place is truly phenomenal. I can tell you from my perspective.
And while he's there, I hope that he's still going to talk about. Let me go back to that picture. This school does not have space. I can tell you, come to this small school. That is between buildings, just in between blocks. That's why they utilize that space.
Sure. Nice.
You can see how we use recyclable materials, and the plants are near the wall, so they can be on a front row seat to water after it rains. The plants are taken care of by learners, and we have limited space. So we use every single bit of space we can get to plant our plants. So every little space is for plants.
Mhm.
The school greening. Many learners spend their time here. I mean, who won't want to spend half of his day at this place? This place is beautiful. Exhibition. We exhibit our garden to parents, visitors. People mostly visit our school because of its garden. We use tires painted. It looks beautiful. The learners exhibit and show what we are doing to the parents, so parents know that they're not wasting their money. They're using it for something good. I mean, the Eco School initiative is used as a source of teaching and learning aid. So many teachers come here to teach how plants photosynthesize, how plants transpire, and how plants adapt to the environment. Some of those plants are not even supposed to be grown there. They're supposed to be grown somewhere where it's cold, but we managed to grow them in the sun, to grow them somewhere where it's warm, So we adapted them and made them adapt to the environment. The 3R concepts: recover, recycle, and reuse. Old tires and logs were used for protection, decoration, and to restore moisture. Look, the tires are used as a medium of growing plants. The limited space that we get is for growing plants and for beautification. Our school is a hostel school. We use the drip irrigation. From the water bottles, and the broken basins from the hostel are not thrown away to pollute the environment. We use them to grow our plants. We use bottles to decorate our plants, to decorate our garden. As you can see, the bottles made a masterpiece, a work of art. This is our mini park. Not a lot of schools have mini parks. I mean, tell me one school that has a park. So we managed to make our own park. Organic manure. We don't use inorganic manure because inorganic manure damages the biodiversity of the soil. We use chicken droppings and manure from the school fall run. Then I also made a compost heap in the school garden. Documentation. We keep our records and the history in computers and in files. We have encountered many challenges, but every challenge has a solution. Some edible plants are in danger from learners before they get ripe. But the solution is, we teach the learners good morals. I mean, if you have good morals, will you eat plants? You won't eat plants. So we teach learners good morals, not to eat plants, the fruits. Yes. In conclusion, look around and see a huge tree. But can you imagine that huge tree was once a little seed? Through favorable conditions and nourishment over the years, it is what it is now. The same is not an exception with Ongenga English Private Primary School project will strive to achieve our set goals. The Echo School Group welcomes your greatest, utmost, and vulnerable recommendations to make our project a success. And we assure you what next time you pay a visit at our school, you will find beautiful new look. Thank you for listening to my stellar performance.
Okay, thank you. We have more, but because of time, I just wanted to say, this is in the Hangwena region, and you have not seen from the public school perspective. And I think maybe in one of the rooms, maybe we'll have a space to, we'll try to squeeze that can make it for her. I just want to say, Honorable Minister, I am available. The Eco School is available. We want to move to other regions. We can assist them. We can help them. I'm also proud to say I am connecting these schools. One of the prizes is to get a sister school in Japan, in the Philippines, and also in the country. So we are connecting these schools. Those are doing well to team up. Thank you. In the interest of time, I'm saying yeah, thank you.
Some more hands. And the problem will always be the time. It will always be the time. Without wasting time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give the next chance to the next presenter. But of course, I think it would be better for me to introduce our Honorable Minister, who is with us here. For the delegates that don't know her, she will be giving her remarks, but just before that, I'd like to acknowledge our Deputy Minister of Education and Culture, Honorable Faustina Calais. She will be with us here, and she will get her time afterward. But of course, we are pleased to have you, Honorable Minister. And we move on with our program. I would like to call upon the Katima Molilo Council, the Honorable Lista Shabalaza. Honorable Lista. Is Honorable Lista Shabalaza around? Thank you. My apology, ladies and gentlemen. It is not the Honorable Council, but we will give the chance to the CEO of Katima Mulilo, who is going to present the speech, Mr. Liswaniso. But we acknowledge the presence of the Councillor, the Honorable Councillor, who is going to address us at the later in the afternoon at the gala dinner, I guess. So, Mr. Liswaniso, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's not a mistake. At least we know we have our deputy minister here, and it's better that the people now knows exactly who's His Worship, the Mayor of Katima Mulilo. You were just hearing His Worship, the Mayor of Katima Mulilo, but some you have met, but you haven't seen him. This is the man behind the trend of the Katima Mulilo Town Council, and I requested him to accompany me here so that you can see him. He's very supportive to environment, and hence he decided that Katima Mulilo needs to join. I will tell you the reasons why Katima Mulilo has joined and making sure that we lead the way to other towns. We don't want to copy, but we want to lead the way to other towns. Hence we are here. Thank you very much, Your Worship. We will not be prestigious. Let me recognize the presence of our Deputy Honorable Minister, who's present here. Let me also thank the organizers that they have also recognized that local authority plays an important role in environmental management and in environmental education. I will also request that I stand on the protocol as has been established, because I won't know everyone's name. But let me also recognize the presence of the EEASA president. It's good that I recognize her. My name is Sir Raphael. They call me Raphael, but when I'm amongst the people, you need to call me Sir Raphael for me to turn my head to you. Or else, I will explain later why you need to call me Sir Raphael. They call me Sir Raphael throughout. I'm not going to be prestigious with our presentation because we actually learned about EEASA just few days before we came to the workshop. But we felt that we need to put a little bit of presentation to showcase exactly what our plans are for the Town Council of Katima Mulilo. I don't think I will be challenged when it comes to technology. Forgive me, I am also having a cough, but I'll try my best. Our presentation is mostly on strategic environmental management for the Katima Mulilo Town Council. You need to understand the only town which have got a surname in Namibia is Katima Mulilo. So it's the only town in Namibia that have got a surname. So bear with us, okay? I'm gonna not be long. I will only concentrate on those outline. Our Katima Mulilo is manned by an act of parliament. And when it comes to environmental management, we are also required by the Environmental Management Act to ensure that we preserve the environment. How do we preserve the environment? We are very proud that we are mostly well green. Trees are around the town, and we need to preserve that environment. I'll tell you exactly why we are going to preserve that environment. You need to understand that if you look at Namibia, Namibia is sitting very well I don't have the map, but if you look at the map, we are sitting like a hen. People think we are a hen. Namibia is standing like this and we are sitting like this. Don't think we are small. We are the key to SADC region. We are sitting as a key. That thing that you see there at the end, it's a key to economic unlocking the SADC region, including the environmental management. So we are a key to SADC region. So we are very strategically located, bordering almost 4 countries of SADC within that space. Therefore, it's a requirement that we preserve the environment in the state it is, so that, because if a key breaks, then you know exactly you will not unlock anything. Am I right? Hence, Katima Mrio Town Council have endeavored or undertaken to ensure that despite the challenges that we are facing as local authority, that of finance and so forth, we need to make sure that our environment becomes our identity as a town council. If you look, you can't see a desert there. You can't see the ground. You only see trees and rivers. So that those rivers surround Skatima. We are sitting there. I've just taken aerial photos that shows exactly. You can't even see houses because we are so green. If you go to Katima, you will be very happy that you won't burn. We don't need this place because we have trees. Why are trees so important? They actually brings life. When you are putting a head on, your head is burning. But when you are sitting under a tree, oxygen is coming in. Am I right? You are fresh. You don't need a jacket when you are in Katima because everything is green. You wish to be at the river. If it's hot, we have the tides, the rapids. On my far right hand, that side, we have rapids. During summer, you will find most of the people, they go to those rapids. It's like a waterfall, but it's just rapids. Water are moving on the rocks. Therefore, it's very important to ensure that we remain with these environmental environments and we manage them nicely, so that for our generations to come, they need also to understand that why didn't we get rid of trees? We are one of the recipients of most rainfall in Namibia. You see, we are very blessed. When it comes to rainfall, that area, the grass is evergreen. Behind the picture, it's just behind I wanted to show you that we have crocodiles, we have elephants, we have every living thing in that town. So you need to understand why are we taking so importantly to ensure that we take care of our environment. But taking care of environment doesn't come without challenges. We really, as a town, have got challenges. And these are challenges that we have set some plans with availability of finances. We are ensuring that this environment doesn't really pollute our most identity that we are having. We have an increase in illegal dumping of waste. There is uncontrollable burning, and you need to understand when people are burning left and right, they are polluting the air. There is also increase in volumes of plastics. Most people buys and takes plastics, and where do these plastics end? They end in our environment. I want to tell you one problem of a plastic. What happens when you place a plastic on grass, normal green grass? After 2 days, you will find yellow grass. After 3 months, the grass will be dry. After a year, you can plant anything on where the plastic was, it will not grow. That's how harmful plastics are. And we are trying to control those plastics. We are looking also at sewer spillage. I'll show you a photo on that. Katima Mlilo was actually designed for a little population during the colonial time. The people were not allowed to come in, and they just designed for that specific group. But then, with rural-urban migration, we have now, from 8,000 that was meant, we have now more than 60,000 population in the town. And then you find that there is also increase in illegal occupation of unserviced land. What does illegal, someone might say, but how is it affecting the environment? When people are illegally occupying unserviced land, we have trees that we're supposed to control. Those people cut all those trees. And at the end of the day, we will end up being a desert because everybody settles wherever they want and they cut off trees. And that already contributes to environmental degradation. Our action, what we have done is that we were having our landfill inside the town. We requested to remove the landfill from inside the town to at least 10 kilometers away from, 7 kilometers away from the mid of the town. And we have fenced it off because we want to start recycling at that place. We want to start recycling. We have fenced it off. The cost to fence off that have costed us around 5.2 million. And the dumps, that landfill is one of the approved landfill by Ministry of Environment. So we have got an approval. We have fenced it off. When you go there, you will think maybe it's a little town that we are creating, but we are creating a landfill. We have put solar lights around it. There is less scavengers because what in the landfill inside the town, people used to bring plastics from town, bring other solids back into town. But here we have no scavengers. Even animals don't go there because we have fenced it very nicely. And we have controlled the entry to that. The reason is that we want to come up with a recycling area where people can take their things and sell and recycle. So we are actually calling on investors on that. I have already alluded to that. Our license or our clearance certificate was issued on the 24th of February 2022. And we are currently implementing the environmental management plan. We don't want actually to remove this from the people, but we want people actually, we want to urge people to do something that will definitely keep our environment clean and where these plastics are supposed to end. This is our focus. We are not saying we are there, but this is where Katima Mlilo is focusing to ensure that we prevent. How are we going to prevent? Our prevention is very simple. We have the waste generators, and these are shops. And we have engaged the shops to say, listen, can you buy back what you are selling to our community? If you are selling plastics, can you allow our community to return the plastic at a fee? We have an environmental fee, but you find that shops are benefiting this profitably. They give a little cent to the environmental levy, but everything they keep for themselves. So we are saying, be responsible as business people, because our environment is going to leave us and no one will come here to buy from you. So we want them to give, at least when I bring a plastic, at least I must get 15 cents of that plastic. This is to encourage our community actually to return to the waste generators who are going to pack that, and then we take it from where it's generated to the landfill where it's going to be processed. That helps us to reduce the waste that ends in our town. Hence, you might have asked, why did you take your landfill so far? It's for this reason. We want to collect from the waste generators, take it to the landfill. We do everything there. We process whatever we process, and whatever needs to be reused now comes back to town. Clean, it's processed already. And then the recycling is also happening there. We are also embarking on the issue of energy recovery. What we have done is that we have appointed an environmentalist actually to study how the waste that we are having, we can turn it into an energy. They've already presented the first to say we need to come up with what we call electrical incinerator. You burn things, and then the electricity that is produced there can save the community around that landfill. They are a little bit 1 kilometer away from the landfill. And then we only dispose things that we totally don't need. But our aim is to have no landfill. We want to use everything that we produce, because everything we produce can be reused. That is our aim. The other problem that I mentioned is the issue of the liquid waste, which have come in. But we thought, you see, when you look at, this is liquid waste, it's sewer, but you can see how green that area is. We felt that that water can still be reused. What have we done is that we have requested the area with Winella Farm, which belonged to government in the past. We want to take urban farming. But how do we take urban farming? It means we must pull more water from the river. That we don't want to do. We want to reuse the water that is being taken from the houses, ending at these ponds. We are putting the treatment plants there so that the water is treated, semi-treated, and used for greenery. And we return this to that farm so that people can produce food for the other people. Instead of us having that problem, because we were requesting, we want a bigger land, but we thought that water can be reused. And when it's reused, it reduces the spillage, water spillage that we are having in town. You find that land grabbers, what is happening? Most of them, they are also grabbing around the sewer area. And you can see exactly when I said people are land grabbing, the trees that you were seeing, if you look at that, that is an unplanned area. It's totally different from what I have shown you first. And when these people are land grabbing, they are grabbing everywhere. They don't care. Even next to the pond, they are grabbing them. That means they are actually degrading the environment. What we have done is that we are servicing around 8,000 plots from this area. We are servicing 8,000 plots where we are going to move these people, and then we start working on servicing that area to bring it back to greenery. There is no green there, it's mostly the land that you are seeing because the trees are gone. Some of the things that we are seeing, we are facing, is the sewer in town. These are old locations. And the problem why we are having this is because the system that was used in the past, they built in block. The sewer is passing in block. That makes it difficult for us to maintain that. And the pipes have become so old because these pipes were put around 1979. So we have to replace it. To replace that, it's very difficult. What we have decided is to reroute to main roads, to reroute all our sewer network to main roads. But we have already solved that. That was a year ago. We have already solved those problems. They are no longer there. We are busy with that rerouting. Because environment, we must have a coexistence. Because this can bring hepatitis, and then we need to take care of that. Yes. Some of the things that we are finding is vandalism to our infrastructures. People come, throw blankets there, throw skins of animals, throw stones and all that. So what we have done is that we are busy with an education program to our people for them to understand that when these infrastructures are standing, they are not just there to serve the town council because they think it's council infrastructure, but they forget that it's serving them. So we have a program to educate our people. The other one, this is the rerouting program that we are doing. The cost to that is 257 million. And the cost to constructing of the retrickling plant will cost us, we are building 2 reticulation plants to the tune of 620 million. And we have sanitation problem. When people are grabbing land, they defecate everywhere. So what we have come up with a program. We are building these toilets. And we are making the people themselves to build those toilets. These are centers. We call it community total sanitation, meaning they need to build their own latrines, but they are very good toilets. If you go there, you find that we have built that in most locations, and we are training our people to do that themselves so that we avoid this defecation in there. And I'm sure my 5 minutes is. Thank you very much.
Like I said earlier, ladies and gentlemen, it will always be time, but we are quite well. But I've quite picked up a lot of learning gesture from the town Katima Mulilo Town Council, which if we try to implement it here in Windhoek as well, some of the program, we can claim back our position of being the cleanest city in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting time, I would like to invite everybody to assist me in welcoming and giving the floor to our Honorable Minister so she can have the floor. Honorable Minister. I've used the word Honorable Minister. She is the Honorable Deputy Minister of Education. My apology, but we call the same.
You never know, maybe it's coming. Director of Ceremonies, allow me also to stand on the protocol as it's established already. Unfortunately, I have to come on your last day, and I really feel very happy that I could catch up with your program before you dissolve the conference. I could be part of the conference. Thank you very much. Before I start with my statement, I want also to introduce our beautiful country, and then we sing about the contrast. I was also thinking, is there any other country, maybe South Africa, the contrast in our country? You start with the environment, okay, the nature, the beauty. It was now presented by Katima at the end there. You know, if you go in the north there, I'm coming from Rundu. So on your way to Katima, you pass by town. I wish they were here so that they could learn what the Katima Mudiro is doing. It's green, it's rivers. And then even the rain is through. I think 95 we will have our cultural festival in Katima. Now you take a child from Luderans, far south, Kepaso. They never saw this huge tree. And they drove looking at how the tree comes up to Katima. And that weekend, it rained heavily. They never saw such a huge rain. But just to give you a little bit that the whole country, you find the desert, all that may be. It is in Namibia where the desert and the sea together. Geographic, it differs. But to my surprise, even the weather, when you are in Rundu, it's so hot. And then we went on tour with our kids. You pass around us on your way down to show them the ocean. Few kilos to Swakopmund, the weather will change completely. But it's in one country. That is the weather. And then you look at the people, the same. Mm-hmm. You know, they are different people. Some tall, some short. You know, the complexion differs, the hairstyles differ. Namibia. And then you listen to how they speak. You find the cliques, you find the Bantu language, you find the European language. That is Namibia. Just to introduce Namibia to you. It is my distinct privilege to address you on the last day of this Environmental Education Association of Southern Africa, EEASA, the hybrid conference 2022. I'm informed that the conference is taking place under the theme Education for Post-COVID-19 Recovery and Attaining the SDGs, Reconsiderations, Challenges, and Opportunities. I'm happy that you could take this theme. This theme is relevant to our situation as we are slowly moving back to normalize the way we run our affairs after COVID-19 pandemic. Director of Ceremonies, ladies and gentlemen, since independence in 1990, we got our independence in 1990, the Namibian government has given higher priority to environmental concerns and considered its inclusion in the formulated laws. For us, it's a real priority. As I mentioned to you, geographic, this country, you know, with all these different and contrast weather, and we have to coexist, not only human beings, animals also, everybody, and we have to produce our food, everything. So as a government, we put it as a priority. And it was also in our laws to consider its inclusion in the formulated laws. Article 95 of the National Constitution refers to the promotion of the people's welfare through sustainable use of resources. Because of this commitment, Namibia has ratified a number of international agreements concerning the environment, such as the Convention on Climate Change, 1992, the Biological Diversity Convention, also the same year, Agenda 21, the same year, Combating Desertification, 1994, and the Basel Convention, 1999. Also the commitment to Agenda 2063, which aims to prepare the Africa we want. The Agenda 2063 led us to the development of a continental education strategy for Africa, which starts in 2016 and will go up to 2023, which aims to make Africa a continent of the future. It is the education and training system which should assist in creating a new African citizen with knowledge, competencies, skills, innovations, and creativity required to nurture Africa core values and promote sustainable development at the national, sub-regional, and continental levels. Education and training is believed to provide the African continent with efficient human resources adapted to African core values, and therefore capable of achieving the mission of ambition of the African Union. Since I joined you late, you will allow me to elaborate a bit. I want to tell you that our founding president, Sam Yoma, used to tell us the wealth of a country is the human resource. And he wanted us to invest as much as we can in the children as they are going through education, because through them we'll harvest engineers who will brought up now the natural resources underneath, like the diamond, the gold, and so on. I think he's right, isn't it? Dear participants, the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, through the National Institute of Education Development, NIED, has made great strides to infuse environmental themes in the basic education system since its first inception of the curriculum reform. Various programs and projects have been implemented since independence to train teachers, especially in our ministry, is when it comes to in-service, on how to integrate environment issues in their lesson presentation. It is important to note that environmental education is not a new or separate subject, but rather an orientation or emphasis within the existing curriculum regarding cross-curricular issues, including HIV/AIDS, population education, education for human rights and democracy, information communication technology, road safety education, and gender issues. The ministry also supported numerous projects and initiatives to enhance environment learning in the school curriculum, among others, the Life Science Project and the school-based forest awareness and tree planting projects, the Maria Mwengere Environment and Cultural Exchange Center in the Kavango East region is where I'm originally, a joint project between the ministry, the communities, and Ministry of Environment and Tourism. I realized there's no way the ministry alone can achieve without the support from other ministries, like the Ministry of Environment and Tourism. Other significant environmental education initiatives include the Desert Research Foundation, EnviroTech projects, the Rosing Foundation Environmental Education Clubs, the establishment of the Waterberg, the Namtoni Environmental Education Center by the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, support to teachers in the Kunene region from integrated rural development and nature conservation, and the establishment of Namibian Environment Education Network. In 2021, the Ministry of Education set up a support environmental education in Namibia project in order to explore environmental learning and activate the existing national environmental education policies. The project assisted the ministry with the integrated and environmental education processes through professional development, curriculum development, the provision of teaching and learning materials in environmental education in a limited number of pilot schools. Some of our teachers are also taken through continuous professional development on Teach for ESD, the program run by NADID, and has selected teachers from all regions. It is also worth noting that the ministry, through NIED, signed a memorandum of understanding in 2020 with the Sabine Platna Africa Charities and Leadership for Conservation in Africa to pilot curriculum support and enrichment programs. Edu Conservation. The aim of the project is to enrich and supplement the curriculum of formal education in area EE and ESD. Additionally, the Ministry of Environment and Tourism and Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, under the auspices of the Namibian Environmental Education Network, developed the National EE and ESD policy in 2019, together with the support and input from the wide variety of stakeholders. As I mentioned, that we cannot do it alone, but with support of other stakeholders. The policy is co-signed by the two ministries, which are leading ministries for implementation. The policy was approved in 2019 and officially launched in July 2020. A national task force consisting of representatives from various institutions, such as the government, ministries, tertiary institutions, non-governmental organizations, and international partners was established to drive the implementation policy. Last but not least, the two leading ministries and the EE and ESD task force have also successfully developed the action plan, which will guide the implementation of the EE and ESD policy and is aligned to the National Planning Commission guideline of the structure of public policy documents. The action plan is a multi-stakeholder framework to outline the priorities areas together with the key strategies, activities and targets and timeframes over 5 years. Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, the National Environmental Education and Education for Sustainable Development Strategy and Action Plan, which start from 2022 and it will go up to 2026, consists of 11 strategies, whereas 7 of them directly linked with the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture. The Sustainable Development Strategy has also made reference to ICT and pedagogical innovations as a cross-cutting theme. This becomes more crucial to us all as we are learning towards online teaching and learning. More specifically, during the COVID-19 pandemic, despite less ICT hardware and software, and I can testify, this pandemic, through it, we learn a lot and we thrive a lot. However, we all need to embrace environmental education and education for sustainable development because of the challenge the world may face in natural resources are not well taken care of. The strategy and action plan calls for urgent need for us to mainstream the environmental education in our programs in order to save the soil and its natural resources. We therefore make a clarion call to all participants of this conference, as well as other education practitioners such as directors, principals, teachers, and learners who are not here today, to embrace the EE and ESD action plans and implement them. And I want to emphasize the implementation. Please let us implement them to improve the outlook of our environment. Policies for EE and ESD need to be well understood, and let us find resources for their effective implementations. As an educator, I'm excited because educators and teachers and learners, although in small numbers, are part of this conference. I strongly believe that educators are the key in the implementation of EE policies. If educators are not well trained in terms of professional development to understand the EE and the ESD policies, the objectives aligned to it, then we are running the risk of not implementing them. They therefore need to be well equipped with knowledge and understanding, as well as resources, in order to ensure that they have a smooth implementation. It is through that proper implementation that learners and other participants of educational programs become more aware and contribute to the development of sustainable villages, the village we want, sustainable cities we want, the countries we want, and the Africa we want. Dear participants, I'm applauded that the University of Namibia, in collaboration with the local organizing committee consisting of the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, my own ministry, which is Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, and the Namibia Environment Network for organizing this wonderful conference. I trust that we will emerge from this conference with new perspectives and views on how to improve and harness environmental education and education for sustainable development. Before I conclude, I just wanted to ensure, especially the learners, that we will support you. And I want also to bring the message to our teachers, to our schools, principals, that World Food Program already piloted some schools who are producing vegetables to work hand in hand with the community. As you know, we are providing school with the school feeding program. If we can harvest from the successful schools, we will strengthen the economy of the different communities. And teachers, what more legacy do you want to leave when you have this small ones in your hands to do? An example we were presented here. Definitely, when your time goes, your legacy will still be here. With that remarks, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. I'm sure when the Honorable Deputy Minister was giving the speech, the teachers and the learners were smiling. And I'm sure they are going to enforce and make sure the EE and ESD policies is implemented as Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister said. We're moving on with our program, and it will be a keynote speaker for today, which is a panel discussion that will be chaired by Soli Mosidi. And I would like, sorry for mispronouncing your name. Sorry, you can come and introduce all the presidents of EEASA.
Okay, just before, while we have our EEASA presidents moving to the front, Yurita and the rest of the presidents, I just want to please caution us that we are going to go into tea, because this is a keynote, so we have to give them the time that was allocated to them on the program, which is about 45 to 50 minutes. So we are going to have our tea a bit later, and then we will still have then our parallel sessions after tea starting around 11:30. So let's just be a little bit patient for that. Thanks for your patience. Over to you, Professor Taylor.
Thank you very much, Sitka, and thank you very much to the Minister, and also greetings to the Deputy Ministers and the children and the teachers that made such beautiful presentations this morning. We now have the privilege of celebrating the 40 years of EEASA with this particular panel. Everybody, want you mind helping me to this? Okay, and while Kevin is just helping me to get the slide up, we have our presidents coming to be seated. And I'm going to just give you a quick overview of the 40 years of the EEASA Environmental Education Association. It is, Minister, the second oldest association of environmental education in the world. So Southern Africa has got something to be very proud of, actually, in its environmental education history. Namibia has been a very key player in this long history, these 40 years. Some of the most important things that happened in the EEASA history actually happened here in Namibia. So we are very happy to be here to celebrate the EEASA's 40th, and want to also thank our conference local organizing committee and Professor Kanyimbe and the Vice Chancellor of the University of Namibia, who greeted us on the first day, for welcoming us here into Namibia to celebrate these 40 years. So we will this evening be having what we call a gala party to celebrate in style. But right now we're going to be just listening to our presidents. My colleague Soli Mosidi is going to be facilitating the dialogue. And I'm just going to now introduce the lineup of presidents over the 40 years. And then I'll be sharing with you as I go, just introducing the presidents that we do have here with us. So in 1983 to 1984, we had John Vincent, who was the first president of EEASA, and he was the director of the Natal Parks Board at that time. Following him was Dr. Lynn Hurry, who was a teacher and an author. Following him, we had Dr. Frances Gamble from 1986 to 1990, and she was also an educator and an author. And from 1990 to 1992, we had Dr. Jim Taylor, who is with us here today. And he has a long and distinguished history in environmental education. He was the Director of Education at WESA, and also the Director of the SADC Regional Environmental Education Program. And I know he knows the history of how that program was started right here in Namibia in this long period of our 40 years. So welcome, Jim. It's fantastic to have you here. I have to say that when I joined EEASA in 1992, Jim was the president. And I did my first presentation at an EEASA conference that was hosted at Howick High School. And do you remember that, Jim? That was my first EEASA conference, and I did my first presentation there. And it was on a project for teachers called the We Care project. So it was a very special time for me. And I remember Jim very well from then. Following him in 1992, in fact, at that EEASA conference, Jim stepped down and Dr. Ramutla took over as the EEASA president. He was the director of the Botswana Parks Board. I think Solly will remember him well, because Solly came from the same area. And then in 1994, from 1994 to 1998, we had our own Dr. Urita, in those days, EEASA van Rensburg. Nowadays, she's Professor Urita Rosenberg, and she is also with us here. Following her, and I think I remember very well where this election took place, it was in Lesotho. We elected Dr. Sibongile Masuku van Damme, who is now with Saul Plaatje University, and you heard in the AGM that she is still a co-editor of this EEASA journal. And then following Sibongile, we had Innocent Hodzonge from Environment Africa in Zimbabwe, a wonderful president. I remember him very well too. And he, together with Mamsi and us, we were hosting the World EE Congress together with Solly. So we have a good history of working with him on a very big event. Following him, we had Dr. Justin Lopez, who was here with us actually, but unfortunately his flight had to leave early this morning, so he wasn't able to attend this panel. I think the panel was originally planned for Monday, so I mean the first day, so unfortunately with the shift, he had to leave us. But he was also the manager of the SADC Regional Environmental Education Program. And I think those of you who were in the policy session yesterday will see that he still continues to make big contributions. He's just led the development of the SADC ESD policy and strategic framework, which is a huge achievement for our community. So we see our presidents, you know, they don't go away, they keep on assisting and working and carrying our work forward. And then following Dr. Lupele, we have Dr. MJ Ketlehilwe from Pemelang Ketlehilwe, and we have him with us as well. Even though he is now in retirement, he also is not giving up on environmental education. So welcome, MJ. And he is from the University of Botswana, very distinguished professor from there, has supported and taught many young people, many teachers, many educators across the region. Hosted many EEASA conferences, MJ. Yes, and then following MJ, we had Mamsi Gumede, who is sitting next to MJ there. Mamsi is known as Mama EEASA. She is the one that's carried EEASA for many years, supported it in so many different ways. She was also manager of the SADC Group and also CEO of WESA, and still doesn't leave environmental education, even though she had her big birthday, as we remember, on the first day the other day. So welcome to you, Mamsi. And then last but not least, we have our current president, which is Dr. Prisha Ramsar. And I think you've been hearing her and meeting her over the last few days, and just also carries the flame for EEASA at all times. So welcome to you, Prisha, to this panel. So 12 presidents in 40 years, a long, distinguished history of incredible people. And I'm going to hand over to Solly now to mediate the conversation with these incredible people. And then I'll do the summary at the end. Thank you. Over to you, Solly.
No, give them the mic.
Yeah. Thanks, Hayla, for the brief introductions, and I know that when the processes were unfolding at early age of this association, there was time where myself and Hela were speaking. You know, by that time when he joined Hela, I think you were still with Juta.
1992.
Yeah, he was still with Juta, you know, working on books and writing books at that particular time, before he went to Rhodes University. And I think it is at that particular age we do. But I think what I want them to do out there, you know, putting them different questions that as we go forward. But I think we need to understand that EEASA started mostly, if you have read, from conservation. We have the strong principle where it was led by people within the National Parks Board or Provisional Parks Board. And I think it was moved out, and if my memory serves me well, it started with the Tbilisi principle. It is where we started with Tbilisi principle, and from Tbilisi principle, it came to, you know, issues. I don't want to do the convention after that, but we picked up mostly within Agenda 21. And Agenda 21 becomes, and I know that everybody would refer on the conference that, you know, according to clause 21 of Agenda 21, with the 3 principles that were guiding into that. And later on, we move in 2005, picking within conference, it was the decade of education for sustainable development, which moved us into 2014. And later on, in between, we have the Millennium Development Goals, and in between, we then have the SGD, and we're now still on the SGD until 2030. And we hope by 2030 would be still here as an organization. Jim, I'll start with you, because you were you are the oldest within, not in age, I know that you're still young, but in terms of experience within the organization. I think what we want you to provide, what were the issues? I mean, within the history of your own organization, of this particular organization, what were the issues that you picked? What is the legacy that you have been able to pick, and what is the contribution that the organization did during your presidency?
Great. Well, thank you very much, Solly. And as Solly said, it really came from a conservation movement, looking after the conservation of the earth and the life support systems that keep people alive. But unless you teach about it, and unless you have education, as you heard from the Honourable Deputy Minister, there really is no future for humanity on earth. Professor Rosenberg told me a story. She said, last time we had the great extinction of humans on earth, would you believe it? There was like an ice age 26,000 years ago. And eventually only 400 families left alive on earth. Just 400 families. Where were they living? They were living in Southern Africa, near a place called Blombos Cave, we're told by archaeologists. And they learned to harvest from the land. They learned to eat geophytes from under the ground, these lilies. They learned to eat the mussels and whelks from the sea. And they survived and replenished the whole world. So the origin of humanity actually came from Southern Africa. This great place of this map we have in front of you. Through EEASA, we're learning to care about these resources. And for me, we're in a turning point. Sorry. This turning point is up until about the 1600s, there was plentiful food to eat. There was plentiful fresh water and clean air. Colonization did bring some assets, but it disrupted these patterns. And the use of fossil fuels disrupted the ability of these landscapes here to support human life on Earth and animal and plants. We're now at a turning point. We need to look back at what these landscapes can supply us, the indigenous practices that kept people alive for 10,000 years. We need to nourish those and bring the wisdom of the past here, and we need to move away from this fossil fuel economy, as Namibia is doing with great insight in terms of renewable energy. As we move away from that, we can learn to live more sustainably on Earth. but let's not forget the wisdom of the past and bring it and join it to the wisdom of the present. That is the turning point that EEASA faces. And EEASA has always stood head and shoulders above most organizations in indigenous practices. Sol Shaba, a prominent EEASA member, could not be here. He's in hospital, but luckily recovering well, like a father of indigenous practices, as is Robert Donoghue. And then we also have greetings from Dr. Lynn Hurry, who was a previous president. He couldn't be with us, he's in Cape Town, and he just wishes you well. So it's great to be with you. Be proud of this organization, really. From Eswatini 40 years ago to Namibia today, EEASA is the longest running environmental education association in the world. Isn't that amazing? Thank you so much.
But Jim, before you hand over to Peter, can you tell us, what were the contribution in terms of EE? And I know that during your president, the ECD was not there. What was the contribution of EEASA into, the environmental education?
Yeah, I mean, what EEASA has led, not only in this region, but globally, EEASA members like Hayla have served on the global UNESCO GAP movement, and many of our members have contributed. We now have a regional policy on ESD, and I'm sure the Deputy Minister knows this, but Namibia was the first Southern African country to publish an ESD policy. So how's that for your nation? Well done, Namibia. So EEASA has always been working on policy, Solly, and I think the policies are now in place. We have the SADC-wide regional policy on ESD. No other region in the world has one. Again, we can be proud of that.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's the practices, Solly, that really make the difference. And what we heard from the youngsters this morning, actually looking after the land better, eating from the gardens, and doing the sustainable work on the ground, that really inspires me. Thank you.
I think I'll throw the same question to Ureta.
Thank you very much, facilitator. Colleagues, so I was the EEASA president from 1994 to 1998. I'm based in South Africa, and 1994 was an incredibly exciting time in the history of South Africa. That was when we had our first democratic election. South Africans across the apartheid lines were for the first time starting to meet each other and work together. And EEASA was the space, the primary space in which we were able to do that, where we could meet each other for the first time as professionals with common concerns. It was so exciting. And what that also meant was it opened South Africa up to the rest of the region, and South Africans could meet people from every other country in this beautiful and amazing region. And once again, the EEASA conferences, the EEASA workshops, the EEASA events provided us with an opportunity to meet each other as professionals, to get to know each other as professionals, to get to know each other personally, and to form bonds that have lasted to this day. I feel like crying now because we've just heard that another colleague is in hospital. We know each other for so well for such a long time. Now, policy practices are important, but policy is very important. Policy lets the money flow. Our Deputy Minister will be able to tell us that. And it is important that we let the money flow and we let the recognition flow to something like environmental education, that it is recognized as really central and important. As the Tbilisi principles guided us, it is something that is core to all of the subject. So how EEASA helped us with policy is, let me read to you the first aim of EEASA, which was, these aims were written in 1983 and they still stand to this day. The aims of EEASA is to act as a responsible body for the purpose of consultation and coordination on matters of public and professional interest concerning environmental education in Southern Africa. Now, when you are called to contribute and given an opportunity to contribute to policy, a government won't say, let's hear from Kim. Kim, come and tell us about policy. Government will say,
we need to see a collective of people who have agreed that this is the direction to go. Government consults not with individuals, but with collectives. And EEASA provides us with that collective in South Africa and in other countries, because it's a body for consultation and coordination. And it is the only body that has been able to give us that platform. On the basis of that, we have developed environmental education policy and curriculum in South Africa that led to a white paper that said environmental education must be part of every level of education and training at every level of the system. And to this day, that is guiding us. Without a body that brings us together like this to debate and discuss and agree on the way forward, it would not have been possible. So that, I think, is a very important contribution, especially that period of 1994 to 1998 made us very aware of the importance of the association.
Thanks, MJ. I think on the same breath, I think you do. But can you touch the regionalization of EEASA? Because it came during almost during your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm happy because my inaugural speech as EEASA president was right here.
Oh, same with me.
I was so privileged, and I'm privileged today. I'm back in the same place, the same hall. Minister, I'm not coming here for the first time. I'm one of your peers. Yes, I know I don't look presidential. I'm the former president. So the president is here. So I joined EEASA when I was actually a school teacher. And then I moved to the non-formal part. I moved to academic, curriculum development. Wherever I went, EEASA was still there. Before coming to a question, I found EEASA to be charming. You can easily fall in love with EEASA. And since I joined EEASA, since I attended the first EEASA conference, I've never looked back. I attended each and every one of them. And if it happens that I miss EEASA each time, my blood pressure will go high. And I've never allowed that to happen. I've never allowed that to happen. I've joined being online just to comfort myself. So in EEASA, I've been a council member for some time. I've held the portfolio of conference as well as regionalization, which means I had to look at the constitution and then facilitate constitutional changes. And then I think maybe now it's fading. I used to know the constitution like I knew a poem stanza. I could recite it. Even yesterday, I remember the 10.7 and the 10.10 and the 10.5 that were actually going on during the AGM. I remember them very well. And I was sitting there and I was happy. Nothing went wrong.
And MJ, tell them that EEASA conference when you were elected. Mind you, we are amending the constitution that year.
That's right. So maybe I will need more time than they do, but really, I found it resilient in the sense that, as Eureka has mentioned, it has gone through political turbulence, it has gone through HIV and AIDS problem, it has gone through COVID, and now we are here. It is a resilient kind of organization. I have a small problem because I fell in love with EEASA. So that's why I mentioned all these things. So regionally, EEASA has contributed immensely. Maybe we'll be saying the same thing. When it comes to policy development, EEASA has actually worked through its members, has influenced policy change, particularly environmental education policy change within the region.
has contributed so immensely to curriculum development, to integrate environmental education and education for sustainable development. I remember even when it comes to course development, we worked so hard. We encouraged people around the region. I think David Simpson, who is here, the minister, he worked so hard to influence transformation in the curriculum. I remember at higher institutions of learning, Prof. Kanyimba here worked so hard. Not only that, within the non-formal, we had so many people who actually contributed a lot. And then in this country, we have Lena here when it comes to NIN. In Botswana, we have the late Doreen Makala and other people. And we still have the young one here, Kinele, that are working so hard. I remember Tsep Mkuku from Lesotho and So Shava from Zimbabwe and other colleagues from the region. They have contributed so much. And all that kind of success or achievement, really, we can give credit to EEASA because that is where we grew. This is where we actually got the insight. This is where we got the motivation. This is where we actually came across the best practices. This is where we came across friends, we collaborated, we networked, wherever we were, we are actually motivated by this connection between ourselves, our organization, and EEASA. And the other thing is it actually cemented collaboration between the NGOs, the private sector, the learning institutions like universities, and other people. Because for you to come to EEASA in the past, I remember the Botswana bus, remember the Zambia bus. I remember the truck that is taking outside here. Something like that. It used to drive all the way to Swaziland. Into Swaziland, right? Not only that, I remember Western going all the way to Zambia, Botswana, and other countries, driving thousands and thousands of kilometers to reach there. And as we celebrate this, let's reflect on this one and see how we can actually upscale, reconnect, revive all these connections. It's post-COVID, let's work towards the 50th anniversary of EEASA, like somebody has actually mentioned. I think I can talk the whole day. So let me, Minister, stop here. But there is so much we can talk about. We are where we are because of EEASA, particularly those who are actually contributing so much to environmental education, education for sustainable development, and so forth. If you want a consultative environmental education for sustainable development, Minister seems present. Okay. She has so much behind you here and somewhere else. So there is so much.
Thanks. You can give it to Mamsi. I think Mamsi will. I thought MJ, you will tell us the story when we were in Swaziland, where we delegated yourselves and the president by then, Linet Masuku, to go and pay homage to His Excellency, the Honorable King Mswati. And since we sent them in the morning, we waited for them to come. They never.
You want me to state in a minute. So we were sent, I don't know whether we don't remember.
Yourself,
myself, President, and other people. So we are supposed to go and pay a courtesy call to the king. We left 8 o'clock in the morning. We were told the king is asleep. And when the king is asleep, you can't attempt knocking at his door. You wait until he is up. And you wait until he opens the door. And we waited there, hungry, thirsty, and talking softly, not aloud, because we may make noise and disturb him. We sat there until late in the afternoon. Late in the afternoon. That's when he came out. And then within 20 minutes, we were dismissed. After waiting so many hours. So he came, he greeted, and then a photograph, and then the security guy says, guys, it's time now to leave.
Yes, Mamsi, you take it off from there.
Good morning, everyone. I must say I was lucky to join EEASA in Lesotho in 2001. I think it was in 2001, and that very same year I was elected into council. So I had an opportunity and the favor of working with with all the presidents from 2001 to, well, now as a volunteer to 2022. And somehow that gave me quite a perspective of EEASA and how to contribute to EEASA. But what I liked most about EEASA was the ethos behind the organization. You know, the ethos of inclusivity. Everyone is welcome. Madam Minister or Assistant Minister, you could be an individual member of EEASA, or you could subscribe as an organization, as a government to EEASA. It's so inclusive, it's so broad-based, and that helps it to be a boiling point of ideas, of activities, of collaboration throughout the Southern African region and beyond. We've had quite a number of processes and projects that came out of those. Also, in that, we had challenges in trying to be inclusive. I know during my time, the funds were quite low. We were trying very hard and everything was becoming expensive. So to keep the inclusivity, to communicate with everyone was becoming extremely expensive with the limited funds. And we started the process of trying to communicate electronically. And that was done during a very time of limited electronic processes. Our emails were working, sometimes not working. We did not have all these cell phones, smartphones that everyone has now. So it is so good to see the move, and I am absolutely mind-boggled by the use of technology that's taking place now. Also, the issue of growth and transitioning with the ideas that are happening worldwide and contributing towards them very effectively. During my time, we were very active in the UNESCO's GAP program, that's the Global Action Program. And EEASA was amongst those that, between myself and the late Teach Pesanai, we used to represent EEASA, and we contributed so much that we would ensure that the processes that were taking place in the region and beyond were either reported back, or we would take the voice of EEASA and ensure that it is heard globally. And then also, I loved the respect for each other, respect for each other's ideas. It might be something you've heard so many times, but every time you can find some new perspective that you could use or contribute towards or share with the next person who had not experienced that perspective. Also, and I think I'll just add the last one in terms of the few that I put together, being the spirit of voluntarism. In that spirit of voluntarism, talking about the trips that we used to make at WESA, going to making sure that we have a presence at EEASA and we contribute voluntarily as an organization and as individuals. I must say that the first EEASA I went to at Rhodes University, I saw these young people who were all over contributing, helping with this, jumping on stage when something was going wrong, just like Prevent is doing, and contributing and making sure that things are working without anyone asking them. And that really struck me. And I thought to myself, how do they know what they need to do? And only to find that it's just a culture that they were developing and they were learning from others, that you just contribute in order to get an organization to go, to get it to move. We are EEASA and EEASA is us, and EEASA is not going to grow or move if we don't volunteer, either as individuals or as organizations.
Thank you, Mamsi. Can we now have the Madam President, Prisha?
Thanks, everyone. I took over, or I was elected as EEASA President in 2019 in Johannesburg. And at the first council meeting, we had all these plans. Regionalization, I'm sure Solly members, was back on the table. And there was a lot of discussion at the 2019 conference about whether we should move EEASA to be every second year and we improve regional country-based networks. So we left that conference with this idea that we were going to spend a lot of 2020 trying to reach out and build the country networks so that we could explore moving into a model where 1 year we would have country-based EE conferences, and then the year after we would have EEASA conferences. But that idea came to a rapid halt at the start of 2020 because the world changed. And EEASA was faced, an organization that really its strength was its conference and bringing people together, had to adapt and reinvent itself. So we had to spend a lot of time as council. We had many meetings thinking about what mechanisms we could utilize to actually connect members, communicate with members. And I remember all of a sudden EEASA was having a youth day seminar online, anywhere. We had to organize different events to communicate. And that year we looked at very quickly, because at the time we were planning a very large EEASA conference at Rhodes University together with UNESCO. And that obviously had to change in 2020. But then we had to look for a model, an online model that would work for EEASA members. Because it's one thing to shift to say, oh, we'll have an online conference. If you're living in rural KwaZulu-Natal and internet and Wi-Fi access is difficult, how do we get people to present? How do we put together a program where we can ensure that people are able to connect and learn? Because the conferences are so important for networking and connecting people, building the relationship. But they are, and I'm sure you would agree, they're a huge capacity building element as well. And how do we kind of engage in that kind of capacity development? So we had to look for a online conference model in 2020 that actually worked, or that could work for EEASA members. And we went into this mode, to many deliberations, where we put panels together and they pre-recorded. And we saved it in a cloud. And we saved it in a cloud because we knew that maybe Solly in his rural Vaal, I'll call himself, if he didn't manage to connect, he had access to recorded presentations. So we went into a model that where we asked each of the panels over the 2 days to pre-record and narrate their PowerPoints, and we loaded it. And people had to watch it and then join to have a conversation with the panel. And what emerged out of us just trying to reinvent ourselves, people completely loved. I think I got over 30 emails of people telling me how useful they found that model of actually working. I was recently in another online thing that was being led by the Austrian Development Agency, and they had actually picked up EEASA presentations, because apparently all those presentations are still online, and they actually picked it up and had picked up mine and a couple of other green skills presentations, and were questioning me about it in a different, and in 2021, so my so far until this year, which is why I was so excited when you met me on the first day of the conference, I had to think about 2 online conferences, which was a new experience for EEASA. So we were very grateful to the Education Institute of Mauritius last year, who took on the challenge of hosting a full online EEASA conference, and it did it extremely successfully as well. So, Sonia, I think that my reign so far has been, how can we adapt and reinvent?
I'm saying your reign is
my reign as president.
It's been a virtual president.
It's been a virtual president. Yeah.
Thanks so much. And I think the other role that we played, which I'm good, that throughout our reigning, we had the IUCN as a strong partner that took place, because most of the conservation organizations were within IUCN. And then we had UNESCO that, I mean, up to yesterday, I said into the UNESCO thing that, you know, and they would always come to EEASA to look for partnership. And I'm glad that now MJ is working with GEF. I'm told there's a GEF, and the GEF too, they have come to EEASA to look for partnership. And those are global, you know, environmental education. And therefore we sit here as a sort of an anchor. People envy and will always be able to come over there. You want to say the last word?
Yes, I just want to say a last word, and it comes back to the idea of capacity building. And I think that the capacity building role that EEASA and the network has played is huge. And I think that what we've done within the EEASA community is piloted and tried different capacity building models. Almost everyone in the SADC region knows the Goldfields course. We've all came and we're mentored into this community through things like the Goldfields course and SADC, and I'm sure that SST, now the newer ones, SST, it was Mercer, am I right? Messer, and I think that EEASA, as well as this community, because they were all community initiatives, it really helped to bring people into the network and then mentor them. So its models of capacity development have been phenomenal. And the ideas that we've used in those models, we are all picking up and utilizing in so many different platforms in our work.
Thanks. Just before Hela, I was looking at Katimamul. You are not alone. I'm from a municipality. So you have a partner that you can work with. Who have the problem that you have indicated here, I know about them. I know pretty well about and how to solve them.
Thank you. Okay, so my job now is to just quickly summarize and give us a sense of, okay, where should EEASA go forward to? Pandelani, are you wanting to say something?
Yes. Sorry if I'm doing distraction. I thought you opened the platform also for
Yes, the problem is, Pandelani, that we're very short of time. As you can see, we already at the start of the next round of the sessions. But I can tell you what, we have the gala function tonight, and we will all be there. So you can all come up and, you know, engage, interact with these presidents and the whole history that they carry with them and have brought into the session. I'm not sure where is Sarka. Is she? She's out, yes. I think that what we should try to do perhaps is just wrap the session for now, and then we'll move to have some tea and then move into the next sessions. Otherwise, we will also have a problem with getting to the excursions, which I think everybody does want to get to this afternoon, so that we can, you know, go out and then come back for the gala function this evening. So for me to just summarize, I think our presidents here have really given us a taste of the history of EEASA and the many things that have happened, the important things that characterize EEASA. And, you know, I'm hearing, you know, the conferences and these networking events so important, and also the support that we've been able to get for those events over the years from our governments, from our community partners. It's incredibly important and very much valued. So I think that's very, very important. The spirit of voluntarism that Mom talked about. EEASA is us. In 1992, when I was at the first EEASA conference, I heard, I think it was Jim and Rams, and they were making a presentation, and they said, you know, EEASA is not the council. Okay, EEASA is not the council. EEASA is not the presidents. Okay, EEASA is us. Each one of us is EEASA. And it was so profound for me because I was looking up at this council and thinking, now, when are they going to do this? What are they going to do for us? And then suddenly I realized it's us. We have to do it, each one of us. And that opened the space for me to be a participant in EEASA, and I've never stopped. Like MJ, I also fell in love with EEASA, and it is charming and it is resilient. I totally agree with him. I also think Mamsi's pointed out, the respect that we have for each other's contributions, that we love the contributions from the children. Every year they're so special. We love the contributions from the professors. We love the contributions from the teachers, from the students, from all of us, from our government partners, policymakers. It's very important that we can come together and share how to take our region forward in a more sustainable way. I think Jim talked about the turning point. Our region is under stress. We all know that. Our people are under stress. Our natural resource systems are under stress. Our rivers are under stress. Our farmers are under stress. We are facing enormous challenges with climate change, with water scarcity. So we have to work together going forward. It's not something we can do alone. So this, for me, is the message of EEASA, is that you never have to do this alone, and you have this incredible community across 14 countries that are trying to do the same thing that you are trying to do. So if EEASA is you, so is everybody else, and all of us together can do this thing together, and we need each other going forward. So I wanted to make that very important point, and we need each other to continue to learn to care for the earth and to continue to learn to care for each other. And what is so exciting going forward is that we've seen some massive shifts in the thinking about education internationally. And there's a huge, big process that's just been completed. It's called the Futures of Education, which has been led by UNESCO. And I'm very happy to say that many EEASA members have contributed into that dialogue of almost 4 or 5 million people around the world that contributed into that. And we were able to say that we need a new kind of education for humanity, not just for us here, but for humanity, for the next generation of children. And that new kind of education must be education that can bring human well-being and planetary well-being together. We can't see them as separate. We need to see them as something that works together. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the work of EEASA members. So we are at the forefront of education futures. And please don't hold back. Stand up, share your knowledge, share your experience, speak to your governments, speak to the teachers, work with the children. We are at the forefront of a big shift in educational thinking worldwide. And the UNESCO communities are talking about this as being a new social contract for education. Education can't operate outside of its communities. So we've got to build that that camaraderie together as we go, as Soli said, to the SDGs to 2030. EEASA's 50th, which will be coming up in 10 years' time. We want to see all of you there. By then, I'll also be like MJ, I'll be retired, but I'll be here. And we want to see the moves into transformative education that are opening up for us now to build the educational future that we want for ourselves, for our next generations, and for these young ones here that will then be the teachers of the future. So I hope that all of these young ones that have joined us, the children, are going to be those excellent teachers that we've also seen here on the stage during this conference. Because without the excellent teachers, education can't transform. So I wanted to end there, and then just to say that, the other thing about EEASA, and to enjoy yourself this evening and this afternoon on the excursions, because at EEASA you can make some of your best friends your best comrades, and because you can trust in each other to do the same thing together going forward, and that these presidents have been able to assist us, help us, and lead us to take the work of this association into the future, and to help us to understand it as something that is not new, but is growing and changing, growing and changing. So thank you very much, everybody. I think we can now go to tea, and then we'll start. Sorry, Prisha wants to make an announcement.
I think we need to, the LOC, to come and marshal, because this is a plenary that we have. But one element that we need to do, I need to see the LOC immediately after the session. And we need to get the announcement in terms of the evening thing so that people knows what to do.
Okay. Good morning again, everyone. How are you? But I believe that we're going to listen to some really good music now. So I just very quickly, and apologies because we meant to do it, we were meant to, just got disrupted with the start of the morning. I'm sure you're very curious about the outcome of the election. Yes, so I knew that you wouldn't be able to just send you off for tea. So I would like, as the president of the current council, to formally welcome the 3 new incumbents into council, Charles Chikunda, Victoria, what's she name? Huge apologies. I think the team from Tanzania had to leave this morning. So, and the third person is Previn Chesi. So, congratulations to all 3 of you. A huge amount of trust has been put on you by the membership here, and we really look forward to working with you in council. And we will send it. We don't have a plenary tomorrow morning, so we will send an email to membership once council formally meets and reassigns its portfolios. Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know everybody's, it's time, but please remain seated. There's a few announcements that will be done. And then after that, we will have to, it's our culture, we have to close our session with the anthems. I would like Dr. Seka and Mr. Siranda to come forward to give the housekeeping and some announcements that have to be done. And after that,